In this video, let's talk about JSON Web Token. Now, JWT, as we all known as JSON Web Token, it's an open industry standard method for representing claims securely between two parties. Now, the two parties can be an application, it can be a server, it can be a service. JWT basically allows you to decode, verify, and generate JSON Web Token. Now, there is a website called as jwt.io and jwt.ms whereby you can utilize the JSON Web Token, take that token, put out an input to this website, and once you give an input to this website, it will decipher the information out of that JSON Web Token. Now, where are JSON Web Token basically used? It is basically used for mainly used for authorization purpose. However, it has a more practical uh, implementation in different areas such as authentication, federated identity, client-side session, client-side secrets. Now, what does this JSON Web Token consist of? So, JSON Web Token basically consists of three parts: header, payload, signature. Now, header is again it's a base 64 encoded string. Payload is base 64 encoded string, and a signature is basically is used to verify the message. Basically, it will just give you a like a checksum of uh, the combination for header, payload, and the signature component. Now, base 64 encoded header, base 64 encoded payload, and a secret key basically composes of the entire JWT token. Payload. Payload contains the data. Basically, it contains three types of claims. Now, what is a claim? Claims are definitions or assertions made about a certain party or an object. Now, some of the claims and the meaning are basically either user defined or it is defined as a part of JWT specification. Now, there are three different components or three types of claims: registered, public, private. Registered means it is available as a part of JWT implementation, and you should not try to override this implementation. So ISS stands for issuer, EXP stands for expiration of that token, SUB is subject, AUD is audience. In public payload, you can assert your own custom claim. Now, user can define like it can be an email address, it can be a user ID, it can be user principal name, or first name, last name, whatever you want to put as a custom implementation, you can put as a public payload component. And then there is a component called as private, whereby you can specify the role or the user ID the user takes part in the implementation of that authorization rule. So maybe a security rule. Now this is how the JSON Web Token look like. Now this is a simple command which I've run in PowerShell. Now what I'm doing is basically I'm logging into Power Apps using my credential and I'm trying to extract the JWT token out of it. Once you get the token, you put that in a website like as I mentioned to you, jwt.io, and then from that you will be able to extract the header, the payload, basically which is the data, and then the signature. Now, in all this thing, you might wonder why, what is the purpose of this? Why would we actually use this? Now, it is all useful when you want to implement a custom solution using a pro code approach whereby you need to implement an authorization, a custom authorization for your internal application. Now, if you want to use that, you can make use of JWT token to implement that authorization for your application. Now, the application can be any custom solution. For in my case, it would be say Power App solution, which I would be building to have those custom implementation of the authorization, which I want specifically for my customer or for my use case scenario. There is another website called a jwt.ms, which gives you more information about once you paste that JWT token. So it will give you that decoded token, it will give you the claims asserted by that token, and all those information. Now, Let me show you the website. So this is a website, jwt.io. So what you need to do is, like, once you have that JWT token, you just paste that JWT token over here. So this is the place for JWT token. This is where you will put all the inputs in the from the application. Now, once you type in the application JWT token within the application, then you will be getting this output header. So header basically defines what algorithm this JWT token uses, what is the type of that JWT token. Now type is JWT and algorithm is say RS512, or it can be SHA algorithm, or it can be anything else. Payload data basically contains what information with regards to data has been passed, or what are the claims you are asserting. Now, there are some, as I mentioned to you, there are some keywords which are reserved for JWT specific implementation, like the subscriber, SUB, okay, or ISS, issuer, or audience, AUD. So all these things are specifically from a JWT implementation perspective, but then you can have your own implementation, like you can have your specific like name, or you can have some code, or you can have an email address, or any other claims which you are basically asserting with the help of this particular token. So this token, once it's being interpreted, it will be splitted into these three components. It will give you an output of header, payload, and basically it's a signature, which is a combination passed through an algorithm which is specified over here in a base 64 URL encoded way. So base 64 URL encoded for the header, base 64 URL encode for the payload will give you the combination of this entire signature. So the signature basically consists of an input of public key and a private key, and then from there a signature is derived. Once a signature is derived, any tampering of this particular code will give you an invalid signature. So take for example, I tampered this code, and that's what is giving me an output as invalid signature. Okay. And you can further share the signature, share this JWT as well. Now let's do one thing. Let me open PowerShell and let me generate a JWT token. So I'll run as an administrator, and a simple command basically is to use get dash JWT token. Now, why I'm able to get this, because I have installed Power Apps PowerShell administration module. Now, if you do not know, I will have a separate video defined to install Power Apps PowerShell administration module for your application. So now once you do that, you will be presented with this command, and then you can use that command to generate the JWT token. Now get dash JWT token. Here I'm going to pass in the input https://service dot powerapps.com. Now once I do that, it will take me to the authentication page. What I'm going to do, I'm going to authenticate myself, and once I'm authenticated, I will be presented with a JWT token. Now this is the JWT token which I have got. What I'll do, I'll just copy paste this JWT token. So let me copy this, and over here in jwt.io, I'm going to paste this. Now, once I paste this, it will show me that the signature is verified, right? So that means this token is correct. Now, if I remove this G, it will say invalid signature. Or maybe if I remove any other character from here, then it will show me invalid character. So any tampering of the data will nullify the signature verification process. Now, let's see what it contains. Now, from the signature perspective, I can see that the type is JWT, algorithm is RS256, and then there are other header related parameters, okay, x5t kid. From a payload perspective, I can see that it has been issued by service.powerapps.com, because I've logged into powerapps.com application. So that means the audience is AUD, service.powerapps.com. Issuer is sts.windows.net. So that's a token issuer service. And then there are other parameters, like there is an expiration, and then like the one which we have looked into, and then the other information which it has derived from this application, like the app ID, or the device ID, or the family name, given name. So make sure that you don't use, like you safely use this token to pass the information for your application, so that you get the desired result for your application based on the authorization uh, rights which you have given for your user ID. Now it has also given me UPN, UTI. So what happens is that once you have this token, you can decipher the token and then try to extract the data out of it, right? If you have an application whereby you have a token and now you want to extract the family name or the given name or any other data which has been passed as a part of payload, you can use that to in your application. So take for example, I want to show a picture of my user profile, or I want to show an email address, and or I want to pass some sort of any other payload or any other JSON based information. I can do that using this. Now verify signature, what it does, it will take the header, pass it as a base 64 URL encode function, take the payload, pass it as a function, and then this is a public key and the private key, and then you get this information. Now this is one way of looking into this solution. Okay, now there is another website called as jwt.ms. Now if you paste the token again over here, I'll put this token again over here. It says this token was issued by Azure Active Directory. Now this is a Microsoft implementation, so basically again you can view the JSON token like the same which we have seen in jwt.io website. I can see all this information, AUD, issuer, and then it has given me a whole bunch of information over here. Now if you want to see what claims are being asserted, so you can go into this claims tab, and then you can get an actual definition of it. Like if you want to know what this AUD means, AUD means who identifies the intended recipient of the token. So who has received that token? So service.powerapps has received this token. Who's the issuer? So it identifies a security token service that constructs and returns the token. IAT is issued at when it was issued. NBF is not before the claims. Identifies the time before the JWT must not be accepted for processing. Expiration time, and whole bunch of information has been provided over here, so you can use this information if you want to understand what this token is all about. Now there are some custom thing which has been implemented, like the family name or the given name or the name. Now all this information, if you put it in your source code as a part of description, that will be displayed here as well. So this is like kind of a custom implementation, like a family name, given name. These are like custom parameters, or I would say claim, which you are asserting while getting authorized from that specific JWT token. So like this, it gives you nice information. Now, if you navigate to jwt.io, there you get a link to basically download the if you want to know more about JWT, you can see you can have information, read information about JWT libraries. You can have a look into the how JWT function, and there is a nice ebook implementation of JWT. So I have already downloaded that JWT ebook. So it gives you an information about entirely about JWT token. So what are the practical application, introduction, JSON Web Token in detail, like what is a header, payload, and how to create an unsecured JWT, JSON Web Signature, JSON Web Encryption, web keys, web algorithms. So all this information has been nicely presented in this book, and they have given a lot of examples as well, like what is the concept behind it and which all application you can use it. Now, as I mentioned to you, they have mentioned about it can be used for authentication, authorization, federated identity, client side sessions and secrets as well. So if you think beyond the horizon, then there are other implementation whereby GWT can be very useful. So it is a lightweight implementation and it is a standard. From a JWT.io perspective, once you land to this page, you can select the algorithm what you want. Now, if I select say ES512, or if I want to see ES256, I can make that changes, and accordingly I can generate those particular JWT token over here. So as you see over here, I have a lot of options available to select the algorithm, and then as you select that algorithm over here, it gets changed over in this ALG section, right? So you can play around with this, and then also you can share this JWT, like once you are ready with the customization which you have done for this particular token. Now you can copy it, you can put it in your implementation source code. Also, there are other things which you can do from a JWT perspective. Is like you can explore the libraries, you can see what how everything is implemented, and based on the technology. Like say here, I'm talking about .NET technology. So these are all implementation. As you see over here, it will give you a nice picture of tech as well, like what all has been implemented from a public payload perspective, from a algorithm perspective, what all implementations are there, and then you can utilize this command, right? And you can directly view the information in GitHub repository as well. So that's it, folks. This is all about JSON Web Token. Thanks for watching.